I'm going to be quick because we wanted to make sure the tech was right and ready. This is a great presentation full of the companies who are really pushing the TV experience into the next stage, and the people who are investigating it and researching it for large corporations, and the people who are making all kinds of relationships to enable you to search and find content in new ways. And I'll stop there, but I also wanted to quickly show Yossi's new book, Super Search Me, which is all about finding content in new ways. Check it out. Goodbye.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Lori Schwartz, and I'm a old-time TV of Tomorrower. Most recently, I was Chief Technology Catalyst at McCann World Group, and now this is my 4th day on my own. Woo! World of Schwartz. All right. Thank you. Available for work in a month after I get off of my poolside. Anyway, we're going to dig into a wonderful panel today, digging into natural user interfaces. Up PowerPoint? Fantastic. I just wanted to kick off this discussion of natural user interface, which we typically think about in terms of gesture-based controlling of devices and voice control. And really, you know, the world that we're entering right now, post-PC world, which I'm sure all of you have heard about over and over again, which is just this concept of your life is in your device, and this fact that media and information are always there wherever there is. And that natural user interface is really why it's like really hitting critical mass right now, is because of all these different trends that are circling around this idea of this post-PC world. And really, you know, we're entering a time where work, home, and friends all vanish. The boundaries vanish because of all of this technology. So all 5 of our presenters are hacking away at this natural user interface world in really fascinating ways, and they all have slightly different value props that are really circling around this post-PC world. And I think the consumer adoption is going to really explode because of all these different trends. So we're really setting the stage for this world. We're really walking up to devices that respond to you, that respond to your voice. It's going to impact search. It's going to impact how we contextually relate to content and how content learns about us and our desires. So I want to jump right into our first presenter, and that is Yossi Glick, who is the CEO of Gina. And why don't you come on up, Yossi? Yossi is going to talk to us about the Gina database, which is all about the ability to search and find content. And let's bring up Yossi's demo. And really all about the power of voice activation and voice search. And of course, Yossi is indeed the author of Super Search Me, which is a very cute title. So take it away, Yossi.
Well, the Super Search Me is... I like to say that the Super Search Me is kind of a diet from the grid. So going back to our topic is, what we actually do, we have the technology that classifies content, what is known as genome, by about 2,200 different tags. And basically, if you can imagine your VOD service today compared to what you see here, so with Genie, you can say, I'm looking for clever, and then it can bring results. And then I can add more conditions. From a plot point of view, I'm looking to add, not life is a bitch, but maybe a workplace. And then I can get results. You will notice that there is a yellow, green number inside each title, which is the predictor for your personalized match, which means our result set is completely personalized. Obviously, I can change my idea, and I'm looking for clever in New York, and you get completely different titles. Now, this is actually laying the foundation for voice control, which is, in the future, we believe that you can sit in the living room and you can say something like, I'm sitting here with my wife, and we're in the mood to see something like romantic witty, but we had enough of Woody Allen, so show me something different. Now you have to take that expression and translate it into machine language with the combinations of ands and ors and social, and apply it and something along that line. Thank you.
Great. So Yossi, while we're setting up for the next demo, if I could get help setting up our next demo, while we're doing that, can you talk to me a little bit, some of the things that you were telling me about search and how it will be impacted by the subtleties of how we communicate our needs, how that will be different than what you type, and how that will impact literally the results that we get. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because
Sure.
it's fascinating.
When we type, we are very precise. Nobody is typing into the search box, I am looking for a movie with Robert De Niro. We type Robert De Niro. But when we speak, we don't say Robert De Niro. We say, I'm looking for a movie with Robert De Niro. Speaking is very easy, and therefore, there's a layer for voice control called NLU, Natural Language Understanding. So that layer, which takes the input from the speech to text and try to analyze it and understand it. So the whole ability to take long messages like, I'm sitting here and is there any gangster movie tonight after 9 p.m.? So that's a question that you want to ask the guide. So those kind of questions you should be able to handle.
So voice activation will actually bring better search results because we're humans and we speak with more detail.
We're human and we are emotional.
And we're emotional. Now, what about thick Israeli accents? How is it going to handle this?
Well, I will start to speak like American.
Okay, very good. Very nice job. Nice job. Okay, you keep that. And if I could have the, great, we have the deck again. Yeah, I think it's just fascinating, especially, and also you were telling me too, won't it learn over time a bit about who you are, Yossi? Like, will it start to respond to you?
Oh, of course. The whole notion of building TV guide by voice is a completely new concept that if you try to even conceptualize it, what does it mean? And this is something that we are trying to crack right now. So it's kind of building a dialogue between you and the TV and how the user interface, how the TV talks to you, and how you make selection in case there are multiple result sets. So this is a pretty fresh challenge that we are dealing with today.
And Genie, the business model behind Genie, are you hoping to embed into different OEMs and be their search solution? What's your business model?
Absolutely. We want to be anywhere where people need to make selections. So whether that be on a pay TV space or over-the-top space or CE space, or whenever consumers need to make selection, we want to be there.
Great. I was just imagining, like, what if you're having a fight in your living room with your husband? Not that I have experience like that. And you're having a fight. Will the guide respond to that fight, or does it learn like a particular person's voice?
Well, so our technology can bring peace to the family by...
Because I don't know if you guys all have this where your husband is watching Discovery, how to build something bigger. For some reason, my husband loves to build things really big. And I'm in the other room watching, you know, well-written, crafted hour-long drama, and adding to my life. And, you know, we get into arguments in front of the TV.
So the notion of group recommendation is indeed embedded into our technology today, and in a sense that you can select multiple profile today already and get relevant results. And as people come in and out, then the guide will adjust itself to the people currently sitting in front of the TV.
Cool. So Yaniv, while you're working on your demo, are you good, or do you need another minute? Yeah, you bet. Let's go. I'll go forward to the through the PowerPoint. Michael Buchwald from Leap Motion actually couldn't make it. He got caught up in some flight delays. But I wanted to just talk about what they're doing because Tracy was informing me they just came out of stealth. And they are, in many ways, a competitor to Connect in some respects. And they're releasing the Leap, which will be a USB-sized peripheral that will attach to PCs and allow you through, you know, hand gesture to control the content on your PC. So you can see how a little dongle like that could start showing up in college dorm rooms and kind of changing the next generation of how people interact with their regular devices. And so I wanted to show their video. So if you guys could hit the video on the PowerPoint. Yeah, it is fuzzy, the way it starts. Can you guys go back and hit the video?
It says a question mark, which means it's not running the video.
Oh, it's not running the video? Okay, well, it was cool. It was really cool, but basically it's a little peripheral, and I definitely go to Leap Motion's site because it's really interesting. But you can see how then making it a consumer affordable device that someone can go out, and I believe it's on the website right now, it's retailing at $69, how having that device now become part of consumer adoption, so that now a lot of what we're talking about is showing up everywhere, and that it's part of your kit with your various devices. Yaniv, are we ready for you? Not yet? Okay. That's all right, baby. We're winging it. So let's bring up Gwen. Gwen is going to talk to us about Film Trip, and I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with Gwen, who is a knight, and who actually downed the Green Knight many hundreds of years ago. Sir Gwen?
Kicked his ass.
That's right. So you can, your slides are on here.
So hi guys, my name is Glen Morrison. My company is Film Trip. It's a production company based in Belfast in Ireland. We do iPhone apps, alternate reality games, films and music videos. And 2 years ago we started working with Queen's University, the Sonic Arts Research Centre in Belfast, to do an experimental film project which was using audience physiology to be an audiovisual controller. So we connected up the audience. We captured their galvanic skin response and their heart rate. And then these changed outputs of audio, changes in score, sound effects, generative sound effects, path moments, and different endings. And since then, we had such interest from that people wanted to see, could we go from the Heath Robinson wired version that we had created into creating a mobile version. And we've since partnered with Shimmer Research, which is the world's leading providers of wearable sensor technology. And this captures galvanic skin response, transmits it via Bluetooth to our app.
And could you explain what galvanic skin response means?
Yes, of course, sorry. So that's basically sweating. So the more you sweat, the more stimulus you have, whether you're scared, aroused, happy, sad. That increases the level of sweat and perspiration, which then we're able to capture, transmit that information up to the cloud. And then that can be used either as a metrics tool, so you can have linear content and people can actually view back along the graph to see how they responded to different places. Or you can use that same real-time data to be a controller for audiovisual output. So we've been talking to a couple of UK broadcasters about a game show format that we can use as sort of 3 tiers where you have high level of engagement and sensor information for the contestants. You've got a sort of medium level for... See you all. So we have, give me a moment, Tracy, and knock me for 6. So we've got a game show format that we're talking where we've got sort of 3 tiers of engagement. We've got high-level engagement for the contestants, mid-level engagement for the audience in the studio, and then home-based contestant conscious decision-making on the second device. But with physiology, what you can do is there's all this conversation around passive and active engagement on the second device. Physiology allows you the passive engagement on the device where you can have a very little distraction from the first screen, but it's still capturing your response, your physiology response to what you like, what you didn't like, how did you, along that moment, engage with certain parts. And then you can give that as retrospective information at a later date, or you can have that coming up with little pings through particular moments in the experience. We've also been looking at developing a sci-fi feature film with cult sci-fi novelist Ian MacDonald, big up the Belfast man. And we've been looking at how to do this, that you've got ensemble cast pieces or different score or post-production effects. And we've been talking to a company in France that can do sort of real-time picture rendering and grading that could actually flux to emotions of the audience. So that's kind of where we're looking at. And by all means, come and talk to us because we're looking for partners for production for all of this stuff.
So is Sensum the name of the brand of these solutions?
Yeah.
And you were talking to me when we chatted about how you see this actually being packaged with OEMs on mobile phones, so that's how consumers will have access to this technology.
Very much, and we see the future in this as being like a sensor agnostic and a platform agnostic sort of skin that sits between people and the data. or the media.
And all that data, do you see yourself selling that data that comes from the responses to all of this?
This is what we're sort of sitting in a funny space with. I have a big issue about this in terms of owning that data or having access to that data. I think that the individual, we're moving into a new space. We are in the physiology age. We're very much slap bang in the physiology age now. And how, when people are still struggling, how to opt out of Facebook.
Yeah.
How do you allow people to trust in the transparency of that physiology data so that people will come on board and come on the journey?
Because I could see, again, I come from the advertising side of all of this, and I can see, you know, advertisers love data. So responding to advertising content or responding to out of home or in your waking life, all the different things that you're doing, if I could start to really measure that behavior. I know that's not really what, you know, you were focused on, but I think there's some really interesting opportunities there.
I mean, everybody, the thing I find fascinating about the advertising industry is that, you know, everybody is desperate for metrics and analytics and give me more information, how do we measure all this? But neuromarketing's been around for a while, and there seems to be a degree of reticence for the advertising industry to embrace this, to have a science that stops them charging $5,000, $10,000 to do this really cool advert because we're the best in the business. They don't want a science to prove that there may be other ways of doing it. So I think it's a funny one with the advertising space. I mean, in year 2000, you know, Iceland sold its whole genetic catalog for its population, so it's a tradable commodity.
Yeah. You had some other content you wanted to show us?
Yeah, I can show just the video, actually.
Oh, okay. I think it's a slide or two ahead. So let's see.
Yeah, actually, there's the dashboard, if anybody was interested. That's the dashboard for what we do for capture.
So is the video, I think it was this slide. Was that your video slide?
No, it was just a separate video.
Okay. That may not have made it into the...
Not a problem.
All right, no worries.
Cool.
Apologize for some of the technology, the total user Schwartz error. All right, so I want to bring up our next presenter, which is Yaniv. And Yaniv is the EVP of Sales and Marketing for PrimeSense. And Yaniv is going to take us through a demo and also talk to us about getting this technology into the chip so that it is inherently in all of these solutions, so that maybe as a consumer I'm not even thinking about the fact that this technology and this neural capability is on the devices that I bought, and so it becomes normal. It becomes how I use my solution. So let's go to the demo box.
Thank you, Laurie. One quick correction, I'm sales and business development, so limited marketing experience, so the demo hopefully will work. But I'm glad to be here. So PrimeSense is the leader in gesture control, natural interaction. We have been working with a few of the big OEMs around the world, and we're hoping to get this technology into a broad range of devices, into the living room, into PCs. We actually now introducing those devices because the fundamental technology is 3D vision into even things like robotics and medical devices and security applications and a whole bunch of other things. So the company is based in Tel Aviv, 150 people, mostly engineers, and we're excited to show you what we believe is the next generation of the living room.
Great. And you're using this. You're using this through Connect right now.
Yeah, this is not Connect. This is actually the Prime sensor. So essentially, PrimeSense created the reference design on which Connect is built.
Okay.
So our chip and some of the other things are part of the Connect system.
Great,
okay?
Great.
So what you can see here is basically, I'm sitting at the comfort of my sofa here, and with very subtle gestures, I can control the TV. This is essentially, the first thing you ask yourself in any TV situation is what's on. So you go to channels, and what you see here is a whole bunch of channels that you can browse through. And let's say you are interested in what's happening in Bloomberg, so I highlight Bloomberg, and I do this, and sound. There's no sound for some reason, but it should be. So if you guys in the back can figure out sound, there we go. So this is Bloomberg. If I release, you can see that the sound is off. If I want to go see what's going on with Conan O'Brien, so I go to Conan O'Brien, and here you can hear him. You can peek into Conan, see if you don't like it, you push it back. If you like it, you just take it towards you.
And have you guys done a lot of focus
I
group
pick
work
up after
with
myself.
people
I'm real cheerful
adapting
with
to
everybody
this?
that's on the
Absolutely,
tour.
absolutely. We actually have
decided
cognitive
to let it
psychologists
go.
on
All
staff,
right,
and
whatever. These are
we're
these
doing a
shows
lot
that-
of
Here's the
observation
problem.
studies with users.
There is
And
no
what you can
poster
see
for our
is if
show.
I'm now letting my head down, I can just watch Conan O'Brien. If I want to see what's next, I
now
just
tell
do
you
this,
something.
and
I've
here's
been a
what's
good
next.
neighbor,
Okay?
all right?
I can push Conan O'Brien back and go do something else. Okay? Let's say now I'm interested in. Oops, there's something wrong with the resolution. I think that's why we're having difficulties in the demo, because the resolution between the PC and the screen. But looks like we lost it.
I think we.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Here it
it's
is.
really cool.
Basically, you're absolutely right. We've done a lot of studies. We tweaked around with the user experience quite a bit until we figured that one specific one. There is something known as the gorilla arm problem with gestures, where when you have coarse gestures, the problem is that you just get tired. And we've experimented a lot with how do you make those gestures a lot more natural, a lot more easy to use, where your hands actually doesn't get tired. So what you're seeing here is a result of all these studies, okay? The other thing that's really cool about that, again, we're having some difficulties here. But the other thing that's cool, I don't know why it doesn't, I think it's the,
It's challenging when you're
it's
saying multiple demos.
Yeah, it's,
But it's cool,
the
right? Let's
resolution is
have a hand
problematic
for how
here,
cool
but-
this is. It's really cool. So I have a couple of questions for you, because when we talked, we were talking about the role of developers in all of this, because you're not selling directly to consumers, right? You're selling
Right.
to OEMs again, and to a variety of folks on the B2B side. But yet you are releasing your API and some of your hardware solutions out there to the developer community. And you had mentioned to me a developer community called OpenEye. So can you
OpenEye.
talk a little bit about why that's so important?
Absolutely. So, we are true believers that this technology should be pervasive. It should be in every single device. And the only way to get this is by having application developers embrace technology and try out new things, okay? This little sensor that you see here is worth nothing without the application on it, and we really understand that deeply, okay? So what we've done, we've created an OpenEye community, which is OpenEye stands for Open Natural Interaction. What you do, you go online to openai.org. It's actually an open source that we've released to the community, and people can take it and extend it and do whatever they want with it and contribute back all sorts of software, middleware pieces. And that has been a tremendous success driver for us, because people take this thing, just plug it into a PC and try out a whole bunch of things. And some of the things we're seeing there are just unbelievable. We're seeing a constant flow of new ideas and new applications. We have something called the Arena, which is a way for people to profile their stuff. And we're seeing more than 500,000 downloads by developers.
Wow.
And going. So this is the biggest community as of now that we know of, based on some studies that we've seen. And it's great that it's open source, it's cross-platform, it can enable you to do things on Linux, on Mac, on anything you want. And I just invite you to take a look at it and see what you can do. Some of the things that are enabled by this technology beyond the control are gaming, as you guys know, because it's part of what the Kinect can do. It actually has things like virtual shopping, where you can stand in front of the sensor.
Did any of you go to CES and see a demo of BodySense? PrimeSense was there showing it off. Really cool,
Bodymetrics.
right?
Do you see that? Yeah. So basically the idea is that you stand in front of the sensor, you turn around, it measures your body, it creates a three-dimensional view of your body, and then you can pick, using hand gestures, you can pick a shirt, put it on you, and see how you look. Okay? It actually measures the exact fit between the shirt and the body. So it's really, really cool
You know, it's
application.
going to revolutionize for a lot of women going into dressing rooms. I don't know that I want to really see how things fit, but anyway. but I think I know from bringing clients around to your booth at the Consumer Electronics Show that a lot of our retail-oriented clients were blown away by the implications of something like this to impact in-store behavior. So again, this stuff has ripples across just the, outside of the living room, which is what's
Absolutely.
so exciting about it.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is that this technology also enables user identification, because it's essentially a three-dimensional camera. That's what it is, okay? And we can use lots of different algorithms to triangulate exactly who is the person in front of the camera. We obviously don't use ID because of privacy issues, etc. But if you think about the home, if you have a family of 5 or 6 or 7, we can, in very, very high accuracy, differentiate between number 1, 2, 3, up to 7, and create some unbelievable input to what Yossi is doing here, okay, where you can see if a family is sitting in front of the TV, it's going to be family-oriented content, right? If you're alone, if you just left for a phone call, it can actually pause automatically, and then you come back, and you said there's a lot of things that you can do with this type of technology. The fundamental breakthrough here is 3D vision at a very, very low cost, and that's what we do.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you with some questions in a minute. Let's bring Mike up to do a demonstration. So Mike is the executive producer at Microsoft Studios, really transforming the TV experiences by developing NUI in games. And let's bring up some of Mike's content here.
Let me just go back for the...
Oh, sure. And one of the things, how many of you have a Kinect and have played with it? Oh, great. Okay, so you're in a very friendly crowd.
It is good to see friends. In Prime Sense, we appreciate the great partnership we've had with them. So I want to explain, I work in what's called Microsoft Studios. So you've heard from other people in Microsoft, I'm sure before, that work on more of the tech side. I'm on the content side. So we make Halo, and we make other products that are all about the content that comes out on on the Xbox. It's under the Xbox team, and we've been focused for the last year and a half on making interactive television. We call them two-way TV experiences. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what we've been working on. But just to get a sense of why we've chosen TV as the next place to go and innovate in Microsoft Studios is, it was talked about in the last session about consoles being the Trojan horse. The Trojan horse is big. There's 67 million people who have Xbox around the world. Of those, 40 million of them are connected to our Xbox Live network. And of those numbers of people, 19 million have Kinect in their home. So it's in 19 million homes, and the other stat that was asked about this last session was how many of those are in living rooms versus basement. 60% of those 67 million boxes are in people's living rooms, in the actual the great room where the television is being used the most. So this is there. It's in people's homes. Obviously, we wanting to grow it. It's been seen as a gaming box, but it's evolved. If you've heard recently, we've announced that an average Xbox Live member is using the Xbox Live network 84 hours a month. And we've just shifted, so the majority of that time is actually watching television and movies. So it's not playing Halo multi-game, multiplayer where they're shooting each other across the world, but it's actually watching television. It's doing the stuff that we love here in this room. And so we've really looked at that and we've said, look, television is the place where we've got to go and find magic in content creation there. And when we created Kinect with partners like Prime Sense, we really looked at how we take television now and go and make stuff that's really, really great happening in the TV show. And it's been also said, I heard in this last session, you can't just take and say all TV can become interactive. It's really, there's some natural stuff that we're already doing with television, game shows, reality competitions where we vote. And we looked at many of these genres and we said, okay, how does Kinect make this kind of television better? And we chose two formats to start with. A kids show that we partnered with Sesame Street on, and a family co-viewing show that we partnered with National Geographic on. And so I'm going to show you what it means, how we created the first, we call it two-way TV experience. And this is all about taking parents that are sitting on the couch with their kids and making the experience of watching a TV show together better because Kinect is there listening and seeing. And so what we've done is we've taken one of their most popular shows on National Geographic Wild called America the Wild, And we took that show, which is a 48-minute show, and took it down to a 15-minute story. And you can see that's represented in these red boxes across this timeline. So in 3 chapters that are about 5 minutes apiece, we're telling the story that the TV show was designed for. But then we went out and we actually filmed what we call sidetracks. It's the second thing from the bottom there. And we actually filmed narratives that are all about asking the viewer to participate in the storyline. And I'm going to show you what one of these looks like. And in those narratives, you're actually, you're voting for which way the story should go. And it makes it so that you can actually tell a story in a much more immersive way. And then you can see the yellow boxes up there. We stitch in what we call Go Wild. And we really wanted to, in this particular audience with family co-viewing, getting the kids off of the couch was one of our goals here. And so this is a experience where the television show comes into the living room, we augment the living room in with the wild, and you become the hero animal of the show. And so you'll see what I mean. There's some really cool stuff that we can create here. And this is just the beginning. Our goal here was to incubate mechanics that could be applied to content by partners everywhere. And that's what we do at Microsoft Studios, is we create kind of the lighthouses, and then we have partners be able to take and use those mechanics to build great things. This has been through hundreds of rounds of consumer testing. Every Thursday we have Kids Thursday, we call it, and they come and they play, and we really get a lot of great feedback. So let me show you, without further ado. Hopefully we'll be able to get the tech to work here.
The game.
I'm going to slide this out.
And is Connect's API or SDK out there? How does it work for developers?
Yeah, so we have 2 different kinds of software development kits. There's one, we call it an XDK, which is how you make video games. And there's one that's called an ADK, an Application Developers Kit. So you've heard us announce all sorts of partnerships with ESPN and HBO Go and Comcast Xfinity. And so, these are partners that are using this ADK to create applications or apps on Xbox that are all about content creation.
That's great.
So, all right.
So, and what game is this that you're going to do? So
we're going to do just 2 little segments of ConnectNet GeoTV. I'm going to show you one, which is you get to participate in the story. And this is designed, what it is we look at the room, and we can gauge the number of people in the room and the number of them that are raising their right hand versus their left hand. So it becomes this group vote of where the character is going to go in the story. And then we'll jump forward to another scene that I'll show you. So,
do you want me to hold your mic?
Good job. You found the final sidetrack. Last time, we left Callie and Kaya high up on the cliffs trying to spot rabbits. But next, we gotta teach them how to take down their prey. Now, taking down their prey isn't easy, and usually Mom teaches them, but some of the behavior is actually instinctual. Look at Callie and Kaya. Which one of the kittens has spotted potential prey? Raise your hand to choose.
How many more people are?
You're right. Kaya is following her instincts and stalking quietly.
So you can see, we get to these segments and we can then see a majority vote for the entire room.
Scare off prey.
So we could do a presidential election like this? That's cool. You could see botching it all up just because you have an itch or something.
We do some good things to be able to see when people are, which hand they're raising, if they've got big hair, we can see all those kind of things in the room.
Are you saying that I have big hair?
Yeah, we'd have a hard time there. But you can see group voting, it does this great off-screen dynamic that you can create here. Now I'm going to show you, we'll fast forward into the show where you come into one of these great Go Wild scenes. And Lori, if you'd help me on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you've mastered stalking your prey solo, but this time, your kittens are tagging along. And their playful hijinks will scare away all the prey. So gather up your kittens and stash them in the den, and then sneak up on your prey and pounce. Do well with your hunt, and you can let out a mountain lion scream. And everyone should join in for that. Okay, stand up and let's get started.
Is this like shopping?
A little more interactive here.
Raise your hand above your head when you're both ready to start.
So you can see we actually are mountain lions here, which the show is about. So we've brought Yellowstone into the room. I'm going to set this down.
Go.
All right, so we're hiding.
after the
Our
cubs.
kittens come up, and we got to grab them by the scruff of the neck.
Release the cubs
Then you
into
put them
the
over
den.
the den here. You ready?
I'm killing my children.
You got to grab them by the scruff of the neck. Now put them over the den.
The cub will
Come right over
escape
this
if you
way.
don't get it to the den in time.
Okay, now here's the part of the show where you're stalking behind the straw, the grass, and you got to jump out
You've got to be very still.
and you grab the bird.
Moving
So
around.
throughout the TV show, we've
Away.
taught players this whole experience of this is how mountain lions behave.
You're halfway now.
You're just trying to grab them with your hands.
By
You can't
moving
do
them
that.
with your mouth.
All right, bird's coming again.
Keep at it.
This is why, I don't know, Jewish girls just pick up the phone and make a reservation.
Let them escape. Be still and hide so the birds will land.
But it is physical. I mean, I do like it gets you off your tush, right?
And we can, yes, it does.
Thank you.
Very nice.
That's great.
But yeah, you can see it can be highly interactive, and it's really about what's the right speed of television for different audiences. And for this, it was a higher speed experience that we were going for.
Right. So let me ask you, what role then, did National Geographic really partner with you, and do you see Hollywood now coming to you during the production process, during the creation process of a lot of this, so that this type of physical activity and what this platform can do gets embedded into the story?
So yeah, in this case, we actually went out and we worked with the television company who produced America the Wild, and we went out and we filmed with the same star of the show, filmed on location with these animals. So this was really to prove that making content that has interactivity built into it has really magical qualities for people. And so you don't expect that every TV show is going to go out and custom craft for Connect.
Right.
This is to set some lighthouse up. But we also have come up with some mechanics now that make it so that TV that's naturally interactive, again, I use that. Scripted dramas, this isn't about getting people to, participate in their favorite CSI or scripted drama. There's shows already that we're yelling out the answer to, things that we're already jumping up for. Another great example is Sesame Street we've created where you can throw, to Grover and he catches it in his box, a coconut. And there's so many things that you can do that are already being volunteered in by the viewer. So.
And what's the beginning age of a kid starting to interact with this type of content?
So Connect Sesame Street TV, which is the sister product to this, is, these are preschool kids. These are 2, 3-year-olds.
So we're literally changing how 2- and 3-year-olds interact with content, so they'll grow up in a world now where this is normal.
It's that same thing when they pick up any sort of a display, they put their finger on it immediately,
Yes.
assuming that it's interactive. And with television and with Connect, my kids and many kids across the world, they're already, standing up and thinking that they can navigate with TV or they can talk to it.
Wow,
So.
that's wild. Thank you so much, Michael. Let's bring up our last presenter, Glen Anderson, who is a human factors engineer at Intel. And Glen is going to take the perspective of how research and development plays at a big company like Intel for natural user interface. Let's bring up my PowerPoint. And really how this is impacting Intel's business across the board. So a lot of the work that you're doing which your title, Human Factors Engineer, is fascinating as well. Because what does that mean?
Yeah, so I'm a psychologist in my background, and I work in more of an engineering environment. And my main work, so I work in Intel Labs, and we can look out a little further ahead. We're not necessarily tied to a particular product that's coming out in a given time frame. So we have a little more leeway to look ahead into some new areas of research and product applications. My area is around natural UI and how that's going to be used in the future, looking ahead anywhere from just maybe 1 or 2 years all the way out to maybe 8 years ahead. We got a little bit of a slide thing going on here. But I'll just tell you a little about our organization. So I'm in this group called Interaction and Experience Research, and this is under Genevieve Bell in Intel Labs. And we've got 4 areas that our group works on. So we have future casting, which is looking out very far ahead, like up to 10 years, maybe even further. This group is headed by Brian David Johnson, and they even do things like using science fiction as part of the way to forecast the future and start understanding what things are going to be like in the future. The next area is insights, and that has a lot to do with business analytics and ethnography. And these groups are looking at, this group is looking at trends that are happening, the ways people are currently doing things, sort of what are the real kind of underlying needs, is partially covering some of it. So we start really understanding more what people are about and what they want at more of a visceral kind of level. Design is the group I'm in, and so during the previous session, they were talking about kind of the life and death of TV, and I'm looking at this crazy AV system and thinking about interactive and immersive experiences. And so I'm really more focused on how are we going to take these new technologies and have interesting new usage models that people are really going to want to do. And actually, we have a technology organization too as part of IXR. And these are technologists who are really focusing on the types of technologies that are going to enable new user experiences. So that's kind of the organization I'm coming out of and where I'm coming from. So in my natural user interface scope, I define it very broadly, which is nice for me because it allows me to kind of work on anything that I'm interested in. So it's I look across platforms and I'm thinking about different devices. It's mostly consumer-oriented right now. Generating new usage concepts, trying to get those concepts out in front of people to see. Sometimes it's very early where we don't even have a prototype yet. Other times we're actually developing prototypes and we're getting feedback from users. I also have sort of a geeky interest in performance requirements based on some work that I've done in the past and really understanding how good these capabilities have to be. Like when I make a gesture and there's a delay before it appears on the screen, how long can that delay be and still be a good enough product? This is an example of a touchscreen latency study we did. I won't go into the details on it, but it's just to kind of give you a feeling for sort of some of the science behind this sort of geekier side of usage. And this is another study I actually did a couple years ago, but it's still holding up pretty well. We did a study where, what we call Wizard of Oz. So you tell people that systems have capabilities. You admit to them, yeah, we're doing some smoke and mirror type of stuff. But so people can do gestures and voice commands, and there's someone in the back room pushing buttons to make these things really happen. And we can start to understand which of these modalities people want to use together, which ones don't make sense to them, which ones are uncomfortable. This is a really great way to get feedback early on before you have functional prototypes. And it's interesting at a company like Intel, if you walk around, you can eventually find an engineer who's interested in just about anything, and they're usually focused on just their one thing. So they're like, I want to make a tablet that doesn't have a touch screen, it just has gesture. And air gestures, we don't need a touch screen. So once in a while you run into some crazy kind of, they're very focused on their technology.
What's the timeline? So if you discover something or an engineer discovers something, how long does it take until it gets into a product line?
So that varies really widely. So some of the work, we think about distributed computing and distributed displays and distributed sensors where the whole room is kind of coming alive and being able to understand what kind of gestures and voice commands I'm doing. Those things, we're thinking further out ahead. But then there's some, smaller experiences like using, but what is a smart way to use a gesture on a laptop? There's some crazy ways to not do it that people are not going to want to do. But then there's some interesting things. So those types of things are going to follow the technologies of things like PrimeSense cameras and when they can be small enough and inexpensive enough to actually start integrating in laptops. And then it also depends what we can do with regular cameras and that sort of thing. And those things can come to market sooner.
Got it.
Yeah, we also did some research around modalities of input and when you're comfortable doing different things. So here's some results from what people said about what what they're comfortable doing with email. So what you do at work, what you do at home by yourself, what you do at home where you might be bothering other people. One nice thing about this, it kind of follows what you think it will. In this case, common sense is a pretty good guide. And then when you look at shorter things, so that previous one was email, and this is Google. So now I'm doing much shorter voice commands, and you see voice kind of pop up here as a much more interesting modality. So it's really interesting when you really have to get down into how this is designed, what people are trying to accomplish. A lot of times people are trying to make judgments like, is it gesture, is it voice? And it's like, well, it's both, and it's going to be in different situations, and over time it's even going to change. So there's a lot of interesting ways to look at it. Let's see, so if I hit this play button, will the video actually play?
Well, let's see if the videos I embedded haven't been working. So let's see, can you try and hit the video? See if it works on the slide? Not loading? Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened when we transferred.
Oh, that's okay.
You want to act it out?
Yeah. So this video that I had was it's on YouTube. It was from CES 2012, and Mooley Eden is one of the executives at Intel, and he was demonstrating the Ultrabook and thin and light new notebook technologies, and he had a gesture demo that actually came out of my research, and it showed someone actually gesturing in front of the system and pulling back a virtual binder that was on the screen. So
cool.
As I pulled back this slingshot, I'd shoot at things in depth.
We'll make sure all the videos are available to everybody after the show, so no worries.
Yeah, and so that was I think a prime example of where it's really, we're not going to get out and do Kinect-sized gestures in front of our laptop. It just doesn't make much sense. But around gaming and maybe even around some other things, there may be some interesting gestures that we can do in front of even laptops.
So this, just to open this up to the rest of the panel, and thank you, Glenn, because there obviously is a lot of research and R&D involved in this space. So opening up to the panel, in general, where else do you see this going? What other solutions out there in the world will, natural user interface have? And especially your solution, Gwen, is cloud-based and going to be mobile-enabled. So will this show up in hospitals? Like, how is this stuff going to impact other business categories?
Well, there's already stuff being used with Kinect in Royal Berkshire Hospital, where they were doing operations, and they were doing live operations and pulling up patient records and talking to it to get information there and then. And with stroke victims, they were using it where there was a training method for stroke victims to be able to rehabilitate themselves. I mean, even just from a medical point of view, the likes of what these guys are doing, that's interesting. But in all sorts of entertainment, you can see this going across everything from gaming and multiplayer gaming right through into interactive public displays or for political debate or all sorts of things, really.
Anybody else? Other places that this is going to impact?
I think that the way we think about it is that, the person today, the digital identity of the person really resides in the cloud, right? And the way you consume and interact with information, with application, is through the screens of our lives, okay? And what happened in the mobile space through the introduction of iPhone and then later on Android, etc., is absolutely amazing. And what I think we're going to see is that some of these natural interaction type of technologies, whether it's gesture or voice or a combination of the two or even touch and combination of all these different things, is going to actually start going towards some of the other screens. So I think what Glen is doing with the PC world is really interesting. I think that what you've seen, some of what we're doing here on TVs and is probably going to happen too. I think with every screen, with every device that we're going to see in the future, 10 years from now, you're going to be able to interact with it in a natural way. That's
looking at some of the big players currently in the market, especially search engines, they kind of depressed what comes naturally to us. Like, will you go to the search box of Google and type, is there a good movie for me to watch today in Manhattan? No, because you know that Google cannot answer that question. The question is whether that will be a fair question to ask any engine. And this is really the point of departure from Ginny's point of view, that the same way that if you had A.O. Scott as your friend, and you would call him, and you would speak to him, and A.O. Scott will know you, and you could have intelligent discussion about your taste, your preferences, what's good for me or not good for me, what good for me. In the same way, I think that will be a natural progression. Now, as a young company, we don't have the market education fund as much as other one, but Apple is actually breaking that ice with Siri. And last week I saw a presentation by Parks and Associates, and they have pretty strong figures to show that Siri raised the demand for voice interaction also on TV, because at the end of the day, God created us as lazy creatures, and for us, holding the microphone is probably the easiest way to say something instead of navigating, or if in a magic way I can say everything that comes out of my head and somebody will understand me. That's probably the blessing of natural navigation.
So devices will learn about us and then be able to respond to our voice.
Yeah,
better.
because at the end of the day, there's for example, in our system, we have about vocabulary of about 4,000 words that reflect the various characteristics of titles or entertainment shows that you will be interested. So 4,000, it's pretty wide. You know, you could be interested in something like Obnoxious Boss, or Nothing Goes Right, or Fish Out of Water. I don't know. But you should be able to say all those expressions, and somebody should be able to understand it. And you should be able to say even complex expressions, a combination of caste and attributes and social, and somebody should be able to understand it. And that's actually, and you could see today, and I never saw those slides from Intel before, that voice is pretty strong on the home preference for natural interaction.
Well, let's open it up to some questions from the audience. I have a few more myself, but anybody have a question? Over here? Okay. The young lad from Turner.
I know what to do now. I'm sorry, I didn't know how to work the microphone before. So my question was for the Intel side. Did you find that there were any preferences based on which type of interaction you wanted to do, depending on your distance from the object you were trying to manipulate? Meaning, tablet here, television there. You kind of get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do get where you're going. And with that study, we're primarily focused on kind of a laptop type of setup. I've done other studies with tablets and smartphones and around natural user interface, and more around understanding new concepts and trying to understand where people have kind of energy for those concepts. It really does come down to a lower level of detail, like are my hands free? Voice is interesting when you start talking about, like, if my laptop is left on my counter in the kitchen, where a lot of people do leave their laptop there. I can walk all around the room and use voice with it, of course. If I'm in front of it, I can use gestures, so I don't have to touch it with my dirty hands. In addition to doing Google searches and all this stuff. So yeah, it changes quite a bit, not only with the distance from it, but what you're doing, what kind of state you're in. But yeah, it shows some of the interesting aspects of how the things interplay together.
Questions? Anybody else? Yes, please.
Is there any ability for it to do ASL, sign language? Can these devices read sign language?
Oh, that's a great question.
Fundamentally, the answer is yes. So the technology is capable of doing that. I have yet to see a great application that does that. But fundamentally, the technology can do that. Yeah.
So what is, this is something I keep thinking about, but just really, what is the role of the consumer in all of this? I mean, are you guys going to be continuously, obviously research is a big part of this, so you're taking a consumer and watching what they do, but again, your clients are not the consumer, your clients are the device manufacturers. So, how much is what you're doing going to be, speaking to the consumer? You're kind of skipping over who your real client is when it comes to the consumer. So how is that going to impact all of this? Well, you're direct.
If I could start, because we do go straight to the
Yeah.
consumer. And, you know, I mean, that's the thing, is you only learn about these natural user interface experiences when people sit down with them. I mean, your greatest test case is sitting down, having people experience it, and even not in a, you know, a controlled environment at, you know, home and these things. And we've seen hundreds of people interact with different ways. We've seen plenty of failures, you know, as we've tried to get them to do certain things, and they lose retention while they watch the show, or, you know, while you think, hey, this is gonna be really cool, and it's not something that they understand naturally. But when you get one that really connects with people, you know that you've got something magical there, and it's easy. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to have a tutorial to watch the television show, and that's, you know, it's going to be testing and having people really just start to be creative with what would you do if the TV was listening to you, you know, or watching how you were reacting to it. How would you change your show? And this is from, you know, I think some of the things we do with NUI is how you get to the content. You know, so it's all the search and discovery. Some of the things we do is what makes better content when you have NUI in it. So.
Right.
We have experience with Genie.com that users that come to Genie, they have been trained for the last 60 years to speak a pretty limited language, which is cast or genre or title, if you know the name of the title. But what happens over time, we can see that all of a sudden, if you, for example, type love into the search box, we will show you what are the possibilities with love. Like there's a title with love, or name of actor with love, or some plot or mood that associates with love. And then where people raise to the occasion, they slowly start to understand that there are possibilities beyond genre. So we can see when we follow how people progress using the search box, eventually we can see they start to use the search box in a more sophisticated way, and eventually they will type something like action with a twist. Now this is a huge progress compared to typing drama, because we have been trained for so long to limit our possibilities for genre.
And I find myself in my work almost constantly triangulating among what I'm getting out of the end user type people we're having in for studies, what's being developed and what's a key type of technology that Intel is trying to develop. And then before most things that Intel is going to bring to market, we need an OEM, usually a larger customer who we can partner with to bring that to market. So it's not, you know, this happens, then that happens, then that happens. You do maybe a quick round and try to find out what's interesting, start triangulating, and then kind of move things along that way.
So it's the role of education in all of this, of training consumers, because obviously our kids are going to grow up with this stuff easy, but what about the rest of us? I mean, is it going to just be seeing commercials? I mean, we're just going to kind of discover this stuff, you know?
I think that these technologies obviously will be very natural and almost a given for kids. I actually had my daughter come to me the other day and touching Dell's screen and saying, "Daddy, the screen is broken.
Yeah.
Something is wrong," you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because he's used to touch, right? So the same thing, we will, you know, those kids will grow with gestures, will grow with voice, they'll be accustomed to it. But I think that fundamentally all of these technologies are about expanding the user base and the accessibility to these technologies. So if you see what happened with the iPhone, if you see what happened actually with Kinect, you know, the move from core gamers into anybody in the family who can actually use this thing, I think that we're going to see the same phenomena with any of these technologies, expanding the accessibility to content, to applications, and we're going to see that in any kind of device.
I also think there's a degree of responsibility as well, because you've got the announcement recently of the Kinect patent saying that there's able to study emotions to sell advertising, and the backlash against that is extraordinary already, saying this is the sanctity of our home, don't come in here, the privacy of this space and stuff. And it's not really a fair argument when really it's happening anyway. Yeah. It's just there needs to be a degree of transparency about how are you using this, and that there's a clarity around the opt-in, opt-out structure and what is happening to this data. Because the paranoia around Facebook and Google and Twitter is just, how are you using this? How are you using it? And it's the misunderstanding of how that's being used. It's the problem. And the transparency is the necessity and it's where you come down to the education side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about open the door, Hal, you know, as being sort of the science fiction that we're now living in. You know, not that I want evil robots to like take over anything, but did you have something else you wanted to add, Glenn?
Yeah, I was just, you know, I agree with that, that there's, well, while you were talking, I was thinking, well, people will trade some things for some things, so you'll give away some of your information and some of the monitoring of what you've been doing in order to get some things for free, but then there's other things that people won't give away. Then there's kind of generational splits too, and you know, I did a study on another type of product, and we were talking to people about what they would share with, you know, with this product that's helping them make purchases and stuff. And younger people who really didn't have much financial status, and they're like, what the heck, share it all, I don't care. But then, you know, as you got people who actually had more things or were a little more afraid of identity theft, then, you know, you had, you know, much higher concerns. So it's gonna vary.
So do we just have a few minutes left? Let's do a quick lightning round of just what we should be looking out for. Anything that you're working on that you haven't told us about? Anything that you want to share? Glenn, anything we can be paying attention to?
I think you know, it's going to go to this long-term vision of multi-modalities working together really well. And I think the Connect is an example where people don't realize there's already at least 3 modalities working there. And I may not even thought it through enough. Because you've got kind of an RGB camera that's taking real photos, so after you dance, you can see pictures of yourself, and you can give voice commands along with the gesture things. So I think over time that'll become better and better, and we'll be looking at how these things happen across our devices, not one modality with one device, but multi-modalities across multiple devices.
Sir Gawain?
Well, thank you. I think really we're in a golden age of science and engineering and creativity. And I think we could, if you put all of this together, you can create real sense of wonder and awe for the audiences and really get deeper level engagement and proper deeper level immersion of entertainment and integration. And specifically when you've got the likes of the 35 mil industry that's about to go on its ass because the labs are going to close, there's going to need to be some kinds of new things coming for big screen entertainment, and I think there's new things that we can do with that as well.
You have also the coolest facial hair at the conference, just so you know.
Thank you. I'm hoping Tracy's going to put in an award for that for later on.
Yossi?
Yeah, I think the mobile devices, I'm stating the obvious, becoming very much a reflection of who we are, and we go to sleep with this and we wake up with this. So I think over time the mobile device will reflect our entertainment personality and will become probably the prime navigation device. And maybe if I have to take it one step further, maybe the smartphone will make the TV dumb again. I don't know, but that's quite possible that no longer we will do navigation directly on TV. We will do all the content selection on our smartphone. So the bottom line, I think, will be, because phone we speak to is search like you speak or like you think.
Okay, Michael?
I think the big thing is there's, you know, the awareness that there's already enough people that have this kind of an experience in their home that we can start making content and see how they respond to it. And, you know, this is kind of Gen 1 for us, and we'll launch these 2 shows. And these are multi-episode shows. They come out in September. And we're already looking in studios and across Microsoft, our Xbox group, at what are the next shows to go and innovate with and the next partners. And because we believe that it's not going to be us creating, you know, all the interactive TV shows. It's how we can build lighthouse experiences that other creators go, man, if my show could do that, that would be a great thing for me to connect with my viewer, with my audience for.
Great. Yaniv, bringing it up at the end?
Yeah, I think so. Those lighthouse.
Close it, Yaniv. Close it big.
Those house light experiences, I think, are critical because we believe that you don't predict the future, you invent it, like the famous saying from Vinod. It is about the experience, and part of what we're seeing here between voice and gestures and all these things is because people just they're not used to it. People are used to touch, people are used to sometimes to voice. What is going to be enabled by gestures is yet to be seen. We're working hard to actually create some really, really cool experiences that will change everything you see.
Great. Thank you. Let's have a round for our panelists. Great job. And all this content will be available. And now the lovely Tracy Swindler, ladies and gentlemen.